Welcome back to the Outskirts podcast with Tanner and friends. If this is your first time with us, you've stumbled into a good one. But fair warning, this is our Halloween special, and things are about to get creepy. Once again, our storytellers have really delivered, and without too much prologue, let me just inform you, this episode is haunted.
I'm going to open up the picture. I need it for inspiration while we're talking. Okay, so Tanner, you want me to get started about my ghost story? So my name's Kristie, and whenever people ask about ghost stories or talk about ghost stories, I always interject and I say, hold on, I have an actual photo of a ghost. And I do. This story goes back to when I was in college. I went to York College of Pennsylvania. It's a small private school in central Pennsylvania, so it only has about 2,000 students. And most of the people who go there are from Pennsylvania or New Jersey. I lived off campus in what would be considered a row home with a total of 6 of us female students in there. 5 of us were brunette, 1 was blonde. And the blonde student, she actually used to work overnights at the hospital. And every single one of us at different times would see what we thought was her walk in past the family room to the dining room to the kitchen while we were like asleep on the sofa. And then the next day we would see her at school and say, oh, I saw you come in last night. And she would say, no, I worked overnight at the hospitals and I came right to school. So absolutely all of us had this time where we saw a blonde woman on our first floor. And then as this goes on, we don't really make that big of a deal about it. So group of us girls, all of the roommates, we had a party in our backyard. Not a big party, not a kegger in the basement. This was a 40-foot wide row home with a fenced-in backyard with 1 picnic table on it. And later on, the pictures from that party were on the floor in my roommate's room. And I remember being there with her. Now, this is back in the day when pictures were taken with a camera. The film gets taken to, I guess they were called like photomaps at the time. It gets developed. You pick it up and you bring it home and it's in this sort of white envelope. And most times you never look at the pictures again. So I was sitting in my roommate's bedroom and I remember her putting her hand down on the floor and sort of touching the pictures. And us both looking at the picture at the same time and saying like, who's in that? So let me tell you about the picture. The picture itself has 2 of my roommates, 2 of the brunette roommates, and 1 of their boyfriends, and their heads are together like posing for a picture. I'm sure somebody said, hey, get together for a picture. Yet when you take a look at this photo, which now we have an image of it digitally, and you sort of look at it closely, in the background, which is almost all black, you see an illuminated face.
How could I?
And it's somebody who's smiling, almost like they were leaning in when you say, hey, come together for the picture. But this image came together for the picture.
Impossible.
Now that you were able to sort of take a picture of it on our iPhones, we can zoom into it quite a bit more than we could even zoom in then. And it's grainy, and it's somebody with blonde hair, and it's somebody who's about the same age as us, like young 20s. I think like the other quality about it is she looks like she's staring right at you and the camera. It's not somebody who like happens to be in the background captured in this image. Very clear that she's posing for that picture, but she's in the distance behind the people who are actually in the photo. And she seems happy to be there. But the reality is she wasn't there. We went to a small school. We knew who was in our backyard that day. It was like 30 people. But we went to a school of 2,000 students that we knew everybody. This is not a picture of any student. Everybody who would have been there that day, we have shown that picture to and said, do you know who this person is? And nobody knows who this person is. And there's something about the picture that makes you say, like, it's not a picture of a person. It's almost like just the head that you see there. And it's in the background, but everything else in the background is blacked out, but you can see this one face. And through the years, you know, we all have a digital image of this picture, and we absolutely all talk about it, especially around Halloween. And we share that we have a picture of an actual ghost. Now, you might be saying, like, did we keep living there? Absolutely. Although we had all seen her and then we saw her in this picture, there was never anything like negative about there being another presence in the home. I really think, looking at this picture of her, that she thought she was one of us. She was one of the roommates. She was hanging out with us. So that's the story of the ghost in the picture from our college backyard party.
Thank you, Kristie, for sharing that amazing ghost story and for sharing that photograph, which is probably the scariest thing I've ever seen. Listeners, if you want to test your mettle, check the show notes for a link to that photograph, or you can check our Instagram page. And now, we welcome back our favorite storyteller from the land of the crabapple. Pete is going to take us on a tour of the most haunted office building in all of Kansas City.
Hi. So anyway, I was vice president of the United Way in the greater Kansas City area. And one of my duties was in charge of all the properties. We had offices in the plaza area, and then we refurbished buildings in Quality Hill in Kansas City proper. And it was kind of a rundown area. At one time, the actual building was a hotel, which later turned into a whorehouse. We refurbished that building and two other buildings, and won a historic award for preservation and all that kind of thing. But one of the buildings we refurbished, they said was haunted. There were indications, there were shadows and things in windows at night and lights that got turned on and off. And I had this woman that was a ghost hunter by practice, had calling cards and everything. She wanted to know if she could come in during the day and plant some things because she knew it was a ghost family that was living there. Probably from around the Civil War days or maybe a little bit later. So she had all these different things we put on the steps going upstairs into the attic area. And sure enough, some of the stuff was moved. So that was kind of crazy. But she said they were good spirits. And she said there were some other spirits that weren't so nice. There was a architectural company in Kansas City. They built a huge complex right near Quality Hill, just down the street from us. And after further investigation, we found, sure enough, they had dug up Indian graves. And there was a lot of hostilities in those ghosts, or whatever you want to call them, the spirits. And so, I mean, that's about all I know of it. But we had spirits living in one of our buildings, supposedly.
There totally was. So I worked in the building for a period of time, and we worked on campaigns. So sometimes we'd work late. There's definitely some activity that was going on up there.
There were some things.
I never wanted to be alone there. I can tell you that.
My building manager, he would get spooked in about 2 seconds and start screaming.
He was flamboyant. Dad is the word you're looking for.
But he was like, well, I'm not going in that building.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he would scream all the way up the stairs.
Ah! I guess I need to update my resume. I don't
But
work with ghosts.
anyway, yeah, it was a little spooky.
But Dad, you've had alarms go off that you had to address and no one ended up being there. I remember that because you got the calls in the middle of the night and would have to go in to the building.
We knew what it was. People would celebrate birthdays and they'd have helium balloons and they would get loose and start rolling around the building.
Okay. So it didn't have any connection to the other.
Yeah,
okay.
That was one of the main things. It didn't really bother me, but it was in my head, you know? At first I didn't believe it, but then I ended up believing it.
What'd you have to overcome in order to believe it?
Well, I saw some shadows when I was outside up in the top of the top floor of the building. So I was coming out of the back door of our main building and walking across the parking lot.
Now, what in the hell is
And
that?
I look up and I see almost like a light and like a shadow of somebody with a long dress moving across the window. Yeah. So I just thought, you know, when you were talking to Nance about things, I just thought, oh wow, here's another deal.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Pete. Next up, we welcome our good friend, Ben. It's been nearly 30 years since he left the farmhouse in Louisiana, but the ghosts of the past live on in memories haunted.
Let's ad-lib a little Halloween song for the episode. It was a dark and spooky night.
Spooky night. I saw a mouse
That turned into a snake.
that bit the ghost who ran out into the street and got hit by
A double-decker bus, but it just went right through him.
and the bus was filled with skeletons on their way to the
Office. They actually were skeletons with meat, humanoidal creatures.
Love it.
You have a ghost story?
I do. I probably have a few. So my grandfather built the family farm in Louisiana back in, I guess, the mid 70s. And my family had this weird thing of like swapping estates and properties and all that. I don't understand it. It's maybe just a Southern thing, but they gifted us the family farm. So I was 11 when we moved there, and it was a big brick house with 7 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms. The stairwell leading up to the second floor had blood red carpet. And then when you walked up to the second floor, there was like a little foyer area with a door that led out to the back side of the property's balcony. And it had a really long hallway that also had, you guessed it, blood red carpet. So that in itself was really spooky. In addition to that, it had dark paneling on the walls. Clearly, I didn't design the space. And so for some reason, I gravitated to the last bedroom on the left. And that was known as the cowboy's bedroom. And so that was my bedroom. Historically in the family, they called the upstairs bathrooms the boys' bathroom and the girls' bathroom. And my sister and I had the whole upstairs to ourselves. So naturally, she acquired the girls' bathroom and I the boys' bathroom. And every single time I walked down the hallway, I always felt like somebody was right behind me, following me down the hallway. And I would look back and nobody would be there. And I would look back and nobody would be there. My mom owned a hair salon. And when we moved to the farm, she actually sold the property where her salon was and opened up a salon in what we called the game room downstairs in the back part of the house. And this lady who was visiting from out of town got her haircut that day. And she kind of stopped my mom mid haircut. And she's like, I just wanted to tell you that I'm an empath and an energy reader and a spirit guide. And I hope this doesn't alarm you, but there's definitely spirits in your house. And so this lady wants to take my mom on a tour of where the spirits are through my mom's house. And she immediately gravitated towards the stairwell, and she carries my mom up the stairs, and she's like explaining like what she's feeling and all this stuff. And so she gets to the top of the stairs and looks to the right, and there's this long hallway with the dark paneling walls and the blood red carpet. And she's walking down the hallway, and she starts talking about this little boy who is maybe lost in her house but is very active in the house, and she's feeling all these different spirits, but she's drawn to this one particular bedroom, which is the last door on the left, which was the cowboy bedroom, which was my bedroom. And she starts describing this kid and how he hangs out at the foot of my bed, and that there's another dark energy that's negative in the bedroom. And she continues on the journey and walks my mom through different rooms in the house and starts describing all these energies and feelings that kind of took over her while she was in our house. And what's interesting is that every time I would go into my bedroom, I always felt like that heavy, dark feeling. And mind you, I'm also walking down a very spooky hallway that feels like people are behind me constantly. And then I go into my bedroom that also has a very like heavy feeling. The closet in my bedroom, when you walked into the closet, it walked through into the boys' bathroom, which was my bathroom. It was very like old Western saloony. And it had a big clawfoot tub and kind of like very masculine and dark and beautiful, but it definitely had like that vibe. And every single night and every single morning, when I would be brushing my teeth, I would see things in my peripherals. I always thought it was either my sister or my mom. And then when I would be brushing my teeth, I would see something zoom by the side of my eye, and I would pop my head out into the hallway and look both ways. And of course, there would be nothing there. And that happened repeatedly. So that, in addition to always feeling like somebody was behind me walking down the hallway, was a very, very prominent thing that I'll never forget growing up and living there. On numerous occasions, I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I would hear this banging. It sounded like it came from all directions, so you couldn't really pinpoint where it was. But the only thing that would make sense when I would wake up at 3 a.m. is that maybe it was somebody playing jokes, and that they had climbed up the stairwell on the back side of the house and made their way up to the balcony on the back side of the house. And they were, maybe banging the door that led into the foyer on the second floor. And I would run to the door and open it up. And it would be just completely silent outside and no one would be there. On the backside of the house, the balcony on the second floor overlooked the pasture because there was a lot of land with cattle and stuff. And at a certain point in the night, and this happened all the time, this wasn't just like one time, you would hear what sounded like cannons just like exploding in the far distance, and you have absolutely no idea where it's coming from. But it just sounded like cannons just being shot off way in the distance, and you didn't see anything, but you could hear just like that faint cannon sound, which was really, really absolutely crazy.
Thank you, Ben, for guiding us on that tour of your spooky family farm. What is it about 3 a.m.? Well, friends, Halloween is upon us, and that means that Thanksgiving is just around the corner. I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to all the traditional fare. But by about day 3, I've had my fill of turkey and dressing. And with all the hard work that went into preparing that Thanksgiving feast, I usually don't feel much like getting back into the kitchen. If I'm being honest, I probably haven't even done the dishes yet. That's where Clarence's Frozen Meat Pies comes into play. For over a decade, Clarence's Frozen Meat Pies have been coming through in a pinch. If you live in the Houston metropolitan area, do yourself a favor and find out how to get on Clarence's Frozen Meat Pies mailing list. They ship right to your doorstep with very reasonable minimum order requirements. Thanks, Clarence's Frozen Meat Pies. Welcome back to the Halloween episode of the Outskirts podcast with Tanner and friends. We're going to keep this spooky train rolling with a story about the Crosset Ghost Light. Now, this story is corroborated by 3 different storytellers. You'll recognize Martha from episode 3, and you should recognize my voice. And we're so glad to welcome first-time storyteller, my wife, Haley.
When you were living in Crosset, did you ever hear about the light?
Oh gosh, yes.
Do you know I've been to see that light? I've never not seen it.
Other people go and they don't see it. They've tried and tried. They've had researchers and everything, and they think maybe it's some kind of gas form or something, who knows? But the guy who lived behind me never lived in Crosset, but he was a big guy with the paper mill, And anyway, he wrote this article for a magazine on the light. Well, I read it. I called him and I was laughing. I said, "Boy, you don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Why didn't you interview me?" I said, "I can tell you stories about the light." I said, "But you got it all wrong." Well, the next day, I come home from work, and there's a TV truck in my driveway, and they said, they called his name, and they said he asked us to come interview you about the light. I said, "Oh yeah." Well, I thought he was putting a joke on me, So I said, "Sure, come on in." There I was, didn't put on any lipstick or anything. I said, "Where do you want me?" They said, "Over there in that chair." Well, I sat down and I started saying, "Oh yeah, we used to park out there. That's where everybody went to park. You'd see, blah, 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 blah." And I'm just talking away. Well, anyway, later that night, a friend that lived in Shreveport called me and she said, "I just saw you on TV." And I said, "What?" She said, "Yeah." She said it was all about the light. I said, "Oh my God."
You thought it was a prank the whole time?
Yes, I did. I called him and I said, "I am going to kill you." He said, "Well, you said that you were an authority."
So, did you actually see it?
Oh, yeah. It was just, we used to go there and hang out and wait for it.
Where is it? You see it?
Not yet.
Flash your lights again. There it is.
And, it might appear, it might not. But it usually, if you sit there long enough, you will see it, And sometimes it's big, sometimes it's little. It can fly down the track, Of course, the old story was, that it was somebody that worked on the railroad. He lost his head. You gotta have a fun story. And he's out there with a lantern looking for his head. That's the story of it. But people come from everywhere. Everywhere, just to do that, just to go try to see the light. And there were several places that you could see it. There was a place out by the airport that was a really good place. But it's always a railroad track, That's probably the reason you saw it when you went. Because the other places, sometimes it'll appear and sometimes it won't. But the airport's probably really where his head is.
Okay, so what you do is you drive down this long gravel road, and it's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. No one lives on this street. There are no street lights. It's completely dark. There is an old abandoned house. Do you remember seeing it?
Yeah, just the chimney was left.
And I have a friend who went to high school in Crosset, and I remember her telling me that there was like a devil worshiping group of people who would go out there and sacrifice animals. And so they would find carcasses of animals all over the property. But I don't know, she could have just been trying to scare us. I don't know. But anyway, so you drive down this long gravel road. It's a dead end road. So you drive all the way to the end and you turn around and face the direction that you came in, and you turn your car off and you flash your lights 3 times. And not long after, you will see this little light coming out of the woods, going across the road. And it's not like moving in a straight line or whatever. It's swinging back and forth like you would expect an actual lantern to do. And it's even like a dim, soft yellow light. So it's not like a bright light. It's what you would expect to see, like a flame in a lantern. And it's probably, I don't know, would you say it's about a football field away? It's kind of far away.
My memory, it's a blue light, and it's maybe 100 feet away.
Okay. And I've been out to see this light, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times, and I've seen the light every single time without fail. But what made our trip different, that was the only time with just the 2 of us. And so what was different about this time is we, flashed our lights 3 times, got out of the car, and we saw the light come out of the woods and start swinging across the road. But then it started getting bigger, like it was coming toward us. And we got freaked out. We were scared. And so we were like, we need to go. It's time to go. So we got in the car, and you went to start the car, but it wouldn't crank.
This isn't happening. It won't start. Can you believe this?
We couldn't get our car to start. And I've been out there several times. That had never happened before. But I just remember we were so scared. Like, what do we do? And you were like, well, I've got to get out of the car and go see if I can get it. I was like, don't get out of the car. This is a crucial moment. But I just remember thinking, like, you shouldn't get out of the car, because we've seen the movies. Like, you don't get out of the car, but you popped the hood, you got out of the car, you did whatever to the engine.
Come on. Please start. Please start.
And then you got back in and the car started and we left. And I remember us deciding that we would never go back to see the light. And we didn't. We never went back.
But after you and I went that last time, I did go again.
You did? With who?
My brother.
Oh, I remember that.
My brother remembers it too.
Was he scared?
Hard to say he was scared, because we saw the light. I left my car running that time, I know. The car was running, we were sitting on the hood, right? And then here it comes. It's getting closer and closer. And then he starts running towards it. So I guess he wasn't scared.
That's not.
But he ran towards it. But then what I saw is, as he ran towards it, it like imploded in on itself, and it came back out as this big black circle.
Oh, I do remember you telling me that.
Kept going. And I got in the car and I started like following him. I was like, no, you don't chase the scary dark circle in the night. I was like, Darren's going to get sucked into a portal.
He's going through the
But
black
then
hole.
it just like disappeared. And then he got in the car. And I just talked to him about this when they were here this summer. And I was like, what did you see? And he was like, I saw a portal. I was like, okay, I saw it too.
That's crazy. The guy's just still looking for his head out there.
Quiet, Bingo. And now we welcome the most adorable ghost storyteller to ever don a headset, our daughter, Kat.
Do you have a puppy? If you do, then you know they need to go to the restroom a lot, but outside, of course. Well, one night I was eating dinner with my family, and my puppy Bingo was at the door, so I let him out. Usually he's out and back for 5 minutes, but this time he was out for 20 minutes, and I just realized that. So I let him in, and he was not there. So I asked my family if they let him in, and they said no. Then I heard his bark, and I saw him, my puppy Bingo. The next day after school, on a Friday evening, I got out of school. My friends were having a sleepover at my house. We got dinner and ate it when we got home. I went to help unpack because my friends needed help unpacking their bags. Then we were watching a movie and we heard something. It was a whistle. It was like dun dun dun. So we went to go check it out. We saw something hovering over the bed. We ran as fast as we ever ran into my mom and dad's room. We yelled, "Ah! Ah!" It was a ghost. It was walking towards us. It got right on the end of the bed. My dad said, "Get behind me, girls." So we got behind him. Then the ghost just disappeared. The next day, everything was back to normal. The end.
Thank you, Kat. Next, we welcome our good friends Anna and Justin. Anna has a story that is both frightening and beautiful.
When they passed, well, my English was worse than now, so I know I cannot communicate with him. So when he died, nobody expecting about that. He was over our house 2 days before for his birthday, and we make a dinner and a cake for him, and he was looking good. So when Justin called me 2 days after he passed, it was unexpected. So I can say I know was that close with him for language. So when he passed, we started prepare for the funeral and everything. I see a bunch of pictures and thinking why he's go so fast, so early. Now my girls know how a grandfather and thinking too much, I guess. So the day, I think it was the first night after he passed, I went to bed and I don't know what time it was, but I start hear like, when the big trucks go like in reverse, the beep, beep, beep. I start hear that. And when I turn, I see his shadow close at my door, my bedroom. I know I was scared, but I don't know who was first. So I don't remember what he said. And the next day it was again. I hear the beeps again. I don't know who was, and you see the shadow. But the third time it was again, and I hear the beeps, and I know it was him. It was in my dreams. I don't know, but it looked so clear. It was him. So I had face to the wall, and I don't want to turn because I know it was him. And I just feel he touched my feet, and I feel his cold hands touching my feet. And I just look at him, and he just look at me, but not say nothing. In the morning, I told Justin, "You feel your father touch your feet?" And he was, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, your dad was here, and he touched my feet, and I feel his cold hands, and I saw he touched your feet, but no, I don't feel nothing, Anna." Okay. The next day again, I hear the beep, and he was again over our feet, and I reached his hand, and I hold Justin's hand, and I put Dale's and Justin's hands together. And the next day, I asked Justin again, "You feel your dad?" "No, what are you talking about?" I said, "I give you daddy your hand, and he touched you." So now Justin said he don't feel nothing. It's okay. The next day again, he back, and I hear the beep. And I get face to the wall. I don't want to see him. And I say, "What are you doing? What are you doing here?" I said, "I just want to be sure nobody forget about me." I say, and I turn to him. I say, "I promise we never forget about you. I told everybody always remember about you. But you got to go and rest in peace." And he just walked out, and he no back again.
Is it called Dia Muertos?
Dia de los Muertos. Dia de los Muertos. It's where we celebrate the souls of our past. They're back to celebrate with us, and like we still remember them. And we try to kind of like make the food where they enjoy or drinks or I don't know memories with them before they pass.
A day to remember our loved ones that have passed on.
Yeah. So Anna, you think that when Dale came to you, he was asking you to include him in Dia de los Muertos?
Maybe. That's what I said. I know was that close with him. My English was worse. And I said, maybe because you was more religious or you believe more in that stuff, maybe it's why he come and because you take care about that. Or I don't know. I'm still thinking why he's wrong with me. Mm-hmm.
I think he might have picked her to relay some information because Anna, with her religious beliefs, would be the best candidate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it wouldn't be you. You're too skeptical.
That's true.
If you were Dale, that's who you would pick, right? If you want to be remembered, you would go to Anna.
Do you want us to show you a picture of the altar?
Yeah, just walk over there and just tell me who's all on.
Give me a second.
She wants to clean it up first. All right, there you go.
How you turn the camera? You see it?
I can't see the picture, Pony.
Okay, I can see. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, let's start with my side. On my side, we got Dale, his mom and dad, Pete and Frida, and Judy, which is Rick's mother.
Well, I had a pictures of my dad, my grandparents, my uncle, and we put the candles and I tried to light up because it's where they know we're here waiting for them. And we had the orange colors. We put the flowers. They call cempasúchil just because we're not here. And it's the flowers we use for the Day of the Dead because it's the bright colors so they know where is the way to go. Just follow the flowers and go see you family. Flor de cempasúchil.
Thank you, Anna and Justin, for sharing that amazing ghost story with the most beautiful ending. If I could choose a culture to be a part of, the Mexican culture would be right at the top. And I suppose Dale would agree with me. Listeners, visit the Outskirts Podcast Instagram page or check the show notes for a link to a photograph of that beautiful altar. And with that, we conclude our first annual Halloween show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, and if you enjoy it, share it. Please submit written or audio summary of your story to outskirts@tannerandfriends.com. Yep. Hi, friends. Can we talk about mustaches for a moment? Perhaps you love them, or maybe you hate them. But one thing I'll never understand is mustache indifference. The 1992 film Folks, starring Don Amici and a sans-stash Tom Selleck, was fantastic, but I can hardly watch as my suspension of disbelief becomes nearly impossible. I mean, what was he thinking? The real Tom Selleck wouldn't be caught driving a red Ferrari with the top down without his signature chevron of upper lip hair. Well, I've gotten off track. The art and fashion of upper lip hair is here to stay. But for some of us less fortunate would-be lip hair cultivators, nature has not bequeathed us with the necessary means for, growing lip hair. Fortunately, the market has borne a wide array of prosthetic mustaches to suit every taste, and they're just a click away. Recently, I found myself trying on such a mustache and found, as I had in the past, that the sticky backing just didn't do the job. The last thing I want is to be digging through the bottom of the mango crate in the produce section for my detached prosthetic mustache. That's where Felix's all-natural mustache adhesive comes into play. Since I began using Felix's all-natural mustache adhesive, I've never felt more confident leaning over to sniff the charcuterie tray, holding that karaoke mic as close as I want to, or even going in for the long kiss with my beautiful wife, Haley. And Felix's all-natural mustache adhesive is suited for application to nearly all styles. From the dolly to the walrus, Felix's all-natural mustache adhesive is sure to keep your upper lip looking just as good as it does in your mind. Thanks, Felix's all-natural mustache adhesive. Toothbrush, pencil, Fu Manchu, horseshoe, fake mustache, won't stay put. What are you gonna do? Walrus, imperial, English, Hungarian, dangling, fake stash, everybody's staring. Can't be Sam Elliott and Tombstone this Halloween if you don't look them up and call the number on your screen. Call Felix's all natural mustache adhesive. Word to Tom Selleck.